Mitch Pezdek Jr. is with the Golf News in New Hartford, here to discuss the legacy of Arnold Palmer. And, boy, a guy that really, I'd say changed golf, but really more so made golf what it is today. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, Bill.
Yeah.
And as you know and golf fans know, Arnold Palmer came along at the right time because they were just starting to really televise golf tournaments, including the Masters, when he won his first one in 1958. And all of a sudden, people saw this guy that hitched up his trousers, was willing to go for it, to borrow a phrase from John Daly, grip it and rip it.
Yeah.
And people said, wow, look at
He
this
had
guy.
back then especially, had a very unique, unorthodox swing, right?
Yeah. Some articles, you're right, compare it to like a hockey player's slap shot.
Yeah.
It didn't look like Sam Snead. It didn't look like any of the other guys. It was different.
And what was also different is some of the photos you see from back then. You know, he'd have a cigarette in his hand, put the cigarette out, stomp on it, and take a swing. I mean, that was a different time.
Right. In fact, what he tried to tell the TV people was, please do this for me. You know I smoke. You know I smoke a lot. But if you're going to zoom in on me or something like that, try to do it when I put the cigarette behind my back. I don't want young people to get addicted to smoking. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And then eventually he gave up smoking.
Well, he lived a very long life.
87 years.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't actually realize. I've heard stories of him smoking on the tee box and then he'd drop the cigarette and tee off. But yeah, I guess I look at it as there's some hope for me that he lived to be 87 years old.
Many of those classic photos had him with a cigarette in hand.
Absolutely.
So, all right, what's your favorite story about?
I would say, because there's 3 or 4 stories, but I'm trying to think of the favorite.
Let's do 3. Let's do our top 3.
Okay, top three.
You know, they don't have to be exact, but the top 3. So let's start with number 3.
Okay, all right. Here's one. Now, Arnold Palmer played in a skins game at Turning Stone in 2005. The other people were Natalie Galbus, John Daly, and Kix Brooks from Brooks and Dunn, the country duo. Okay.
Wow.
So Arnold and John Daly were playing back tees, and the other 2 were playing front tees. So they get around on the back 9, and John Daly gets up and smashes a drive down the middle, probably about 320 yards. And he gets out of the way, and Arnold gets up there, and he's ready to hit the shot. And John Daly says to him, you know, Arnold, right now I could use a drink. And Arnold stops and backs off. And he looks over him and says, John, you know, at my age, I could use 2 drinks right now. And then he hit one down the middle.
Wow.
And he did well in the skins game. He was 76 years old then.
Wow.
And he's playing back tees.
Yeah.
So to me, it looked like something that people would rehearse. And I don't think it was. I think they just did it.
Just did it.
Yeah.
All right, story number 2.
Okay, story number 2 is Arnold Palmer, businessman. At that same skins game, at the end, they had a table set up and gave out plaques and stuff like that. I was kind of standing there like a lot of people. I had press credentials. But anyway, at the end, it was by accident or whatever. It was Arnold Palmer, Ray Hellbitter, and myself. We're standing there. So Ray Hellbitter says to Arnold Palmer, thank you for coming, Mr. Palmer. And he says, Mr. Hellbitter, thank you for inviting me. And then Arnold Palmer says to him, Mr. Hellbitter, you have 3 great championship golf courses here, and I praise them, and they are great. He goes, and the course right here at Dunyat is ready for, you know, a PGA Tour event and so forth. And my company designs golf courses, and we never received a phone call to design any of the 3 golf courses. And Ray Hellbitter says, Mr. Palmer, you're right, I'm sorry, and we're going to build more golf courses, and the first person we're going to call will be you. Then Arnold Palmer turns and walks at me, and I'm thinking, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I reached out my hand and said, thank you for coming. And I'm thinking, you know, he just got done with this, and his mind is still on business in a nice way.
Right.
You know, not nasty or what, just...
Yeah.
And I think we all know about, it's one of my favorite drinks in the summertime, the Arnold Palmer iced tea lemonade.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's
Kids are all over that. I mean, kids think Arnold Palmer is a drink. They don't know the golfer.
Yep.
Crazy. Now, was there ever an opportunity? I know that more golf courses were coming and have been coming. Ever an opportunity where they were able to use Arnold Palmer?
No, because they still have the championship courses. They still have Shenandoah, which they did some remodeling, whatever you want to call it, because of the stores they're putting in the bowling center. That's still there. Shenandoah's still there. Galuyat's still there. Adunyat's still there. So I think that's still in the works because they have so many things that they're doing all the time.
And now what we didn't know is that all Arnold Palmer drink, he owned at least the rights, but you were saying, Jeff, yesterday that he actually created that drink. That was his drink.
Well, one of the reports we had, might have been Fox News update at the top of the hour yesterday morning, said they referred to it as, and of course he had a business selling his iconic half and half drink. And I just thought it was like, I'm trying to think of an example. You do your little breakfast bar and a Pepsi. If somebody combined that, they said it's a Keeler breakfast.
Is that what it was? Did they just put his name on it?
Yeah. What happened is, from what I've read, and I guess, and it's been verified, is that he was, after playing golf, went in to have a drink, and the waiter came over, and he says, you know what, I want to try something. I want a glass with half iced tea and half lemonade. So the waiter says, okay. And a woman overheard this, right? So the waiter brings it to him, and he goes over to her, and he goes, what would you like to drink? And she goes, I want to have an Arnold Palmer. And Arnold Palmer goes, you know something?
Bing. A bell goes off.
Wow. To me, it's funny, though, too, because the way everything is copyrighted and owned, that he could take two existing things and combine them and then take ownership of them.
Well, also, too, it's the Arizona Iced Tea Company. Now, they make a ton of money because the way they price their cans is at exactly 99 cents or whatever. We won't get into that. But so I think that they just exclusively used his name.
Starting today, I'm going with Doritos and salsa, and I'm going to call it a Keeler. I'd like a Keeler.
So, no, I also heard...
Let's make some money here.
I heard a story in the origins of the Arnold Palmer drink that somebody once went to him, what is your exact ratio? People say it's half and half, but they say, what exactly is your ratio? And he says, well, I can't tell you. That's my secret recipe. Okay. So his combination of lemonade and iced tea.
That's interesting. All right, your best story, number one. Here we go.
Okay.
We're talking to Mitch Pezdek, who is the owner and publisher of the Golf News.
I would say this would be the best story, and I wasn't there when this happened, but saw it on TV, and a lot of people did. In 1987, when they had the Bay Hill Invitational, which is Arnold's tournament, I mean, he invites golfers to come to it.
Yeah.
Payne Stewart at that time had a house at Bay Hill, and he won the tournament. Now, the tournament was, the purpose of it was to raise money for the Arnold Palmer Hospital for Women and Children in Orlando. So they have the ceremony for the trophy and everything, and they hand over the winner's check to Payne Stewart. And he says, Arnold, I'm going to give this back to you completely for the hospital, because this is the kind of thing you do, and I just think it's right. And I don't really need the money, so here's the check.
Wow.
That was how much respect they had, not just for Arnold Palmer, is running the tournament, but for the fact he had that hospital for women and children.
Pretty wild, pretty amazing, and a legend has passed now.
Yep.
One final quick question. Mm-hmm. Tiger Woods reportedly coming back. What's going to happen?
I wish him the best. He's 40 years old now. He's had 8 surgeries on his back, 3 in the same spot. Back a few months ago, he tried on TV, tried to hit a wedge 102 yards and 3 times hit it in the water. It's possible he could come back. It's going to be extremely difficult. Maybe he will make it. Everybody wishes him the best, but it's going to be a tough hill to climb.
TV executives are praying right now. They're really, really, I mean, they were doing their best to create new Tiger Woods characters, but there's only one Tiger Woods, at least right now. Right. So.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah.
I think this is common for us when someone passes, right? Mm-hmm. That it's a time of sadness, but it's also a time to celebrate life.
Yep.
And when you think of Arnold Palmer and all that he did, not just with golf and not just with the drink and everything else, but the examples he set, the way he conducted himself, this is a time to do what we're doing, to remember all the good things he did and celebrate his life and just say thank you, Arnold. It was great to have you here.
Pretty awesome. Mitch, the publication is available, the golf news is available all over the place.
Yep.
Golf
and
clubs.
The fall golf issue is going to be coming out. I've now, as you might suspect, revised the front page to be a tribute to Arnold Palmer.
Nice.
And it's got some of the things we talked about in it. And pictures, in fact, if you don't mind, here's two of the pictures that his golf pro allowed me to take at Latrobe Country Club.
Wow.
That's his mom and dad. And down here, you can see the look on their faces as they're competing against each other, Arnie and Jack.
That's wild.
So, yeah, so those pictures will be in the golf news.
Pretty wild.
Yep.
Talking about the Arnold Palmer drink a couple of years ago, he said, I was embarrassed to ask for an Arnold Palmer. I'd always say, can I have an iced tea and put about a third of it in lemonade? And they'd say, oh, you want an Arnold Palmer? He said, Finally I decided I won't fight this battle anymore. I just ask for an Arnold Palmer and hope they don't know who I am.